Johnny Rodman from, I got to read this. You tell me. It's Shelter Hope.
It's Light in the Storm.
Light in the Storm Disaster Relief. I knew that, but in the heat of the moment, I said to you a minute ago, I remember that, and I didn't. Light in the Storm Disaster Relief, and Dan Olson from Hope International.
Yes, sir.
Great to have you both here. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
And the reason you're here is because of tragedy. And that is because late last year, Hurricane Helene struck Western Carolina. Well, it struck a whole lot more than Western Carolina. But the rain clouds kind of sat above the western part of North Carolina and didn't move and dumped a horrendous amount of rain. So we were geared up for it here in Eastern Tennessee. We're not far away, and we were told the rain's going to be bad. But it wasn't, not really here, but just 2.5 or 3 hours away. It was calamitous. So the two of you are working in disaster relief to aid people in the wake of what's been going on there. We're going to see some video, not right now, but we're going to see some video and talk to you a little bit about the scale of what you've seen, the need that still exists, how people can get involved, and what you're dealing with. Dan, let's start with you.
Okay.
What have you seen in the wake of Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina? What's the damage? Just start there and tell me something about what you witnessed.
You really can't even put it into words. It's so traumatic that, and the world doesn't know this. For instance, Pensacola is one of the places I worked. Johnny's been working in Swannanoa. I worked in Bakersville. We worked all over the place. But Pensacola, when you drive down there, it literally looks like there's a bomb that went off. And there's like over 200 mudslides that have slid down these mountains and literally taken people's houses and washing them into the river. They're literally gone. There's nothing left. I have dealt with the first week we went out, my grandson and I left that Sunday after it hit, and it took us 2 days to get to Bakersville, which should have taken us an hour and a half because everything was closed, all the roads were closed. So we ended up going way up further north and turning around, coming back down and going up over the mountain. And on our way over that mountain is called 107, I think is the name of the road. We were pulling a big machine, and we had to stop because the FEMA was there, whoever was there, the military was there, said, you can't go down that road. Well, we were thinking, we're going to go down that road because we got to go help these people. So we start going down this road a couple of miles, and I'm pulling my machine behind me, and there's a house in the middle of the road. Not a trailer house, a 2-story, beautiful house with a garage attached to it in the middle of the road. Okay, how do we get around this? Well, there was no getting around this, so we ended up, I couldn't turn around because the roads had 6 inches of mud on them, so I ended up having to back all the way out 2 miles to get back on track. That's why one of the reasons we ended up going up to, I don't even remember the name of the town, way up somewhere in Tennessee to get a hotel that night. So then the mountain we're going over top of it, that didn't get hit with water, but it got hit with what they call microbursts, which were mini tornadoes. And that road, the only way we could get through, because there was a bulldozer that was pushing trees out of the way, so there was literally just one path that you could get through to get up and over in Unicoi, Tennessee is where that was, to get to the other side to get to Bakersville. And then after that, we spent a week in Bakersville clearing trees, helping people get out of their homes, fixing roads so people could get out, because once the bridges were gone, most of the bridges were gone. Their culverts were gone. 6 and 8 foot steel culverts literally washed down the creek or the river now. So we had to make ways for people to get out because there's no way for them to get in and out. I mean, after that, we came back from Bakersville. We went to Marshall, North Carolina, where the town that we live in. That you'll see the video on some of that. That town was almost completely underwater. I don't know how many people lost their lives. The news says that there's only a couple hundred, but if you talk to the locals, they're saying thousands. And people are still missing. One of the worst ones, and if I get emotional, I'm sorry, but it's crazy. One of the worst ones was we had a neighbor kid who worked for us years ago. Oh, his dad worked for us. Anyway, he was a tree guy. And he was out there, of course, all the tree guys, and the linemen's out there working constantly. So when he's working, and they're going to a specific location to do whatever they need to do with the trees, and they find a guy buried up to his neck, and he's alive.
He's alive.
He's alive. And they're telling him, we'll get you out. And he said, don't bother. I don't want to live. And I go, well, no, we can get you out. And no, I don't want to live. And he said, my family's gone. So, well, you don't know that for sure because we find people alive all the time. He said, I know that because they stopped scratching my leg 3 days ago. How do you deal with that kind of stuff? And this kid's going to be scarred for life, that kind of thing. So the help, the need out there is so great that people say, yesterday, I was with Johnny, and we were talking to a couple that were walking down the street. And they said they stopped in and said, hello, hey, how you doing? You guys, what are you guys doing? And we said, oh, we're trying to help these people, trying to help Joaquin and his family. And he said, we're from New Jersey. And he said, everybody's saying that there's nothing wrong down here.
What?
So, yeah, he said, we had no clue. So we said, we had to drive down here. So him and his wife drove down there, and they've been taking pictures, and they said, we didn't know. And most of the nation doesn't know that these people are still devastated with what has happened.
This is what the nature of disasters are, and I guess it's human nature, and it's the nature of the news cycle. It was now tell me exactly, when you remind us of the dates that this thing
September 27th, right? Yep.
It's
It was
been
on a
long.
Thursday. Yep. Been 4 months.
Late September. You move on. You have fires in California, a horrible plane crash last night. We tend to forget. It's really easy to get excited about disasters and then really easy to forget them when they're done. And we just kind of move on. But the issues are still really real. Okay, tell me both how you got involved in what you're doing. Tell me, Johnny, what you're doing through your ministry and how you got involved in what's happening there in Carolina.
Well, we went to Swannanoa, Asheville area October 4th when the roads were clear enough for us to go.
Who's we and why did you go there?
Our ministry that we represent, we've had several volunteers that we convoyed there. We went through Blue Ridge to avoid any stops.
Now, let me just jump in here. Is this typically what your ministry does, or are you involved in other things as well?
Well, our ministry is specifically for disaster relief.
Yeah, okay. So
and,
this
of
is your-
course, we do preparation awareness and some training.
Okay.
But our big thing is serving in disasters,
Right.
being the hands and feet of Jesus for cleanup.
So this thing happened. You knew you had to be there to help.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I do want you to go on, but I want to ask this. Were there lots of people there helping initially?
Initially, yes, sir.
Okay.
There was a lot of confusion. The first 2 weeks, there was a lot of speculation. So our Facebook disappeared. There was a lot of communication errors. There was no cell phone signal, no internet, no nothing. So no one knew what was really happening there for 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't until TikTok, we opened up a site of TikTok and put out videos of actual footage of disasters. That's when we started getting a huge outpouring of people.
Yeah. I want to hear more of your story and what you're doing, but I do want to take a look at one of these videos. We'll be able to talk through this thing. This is Swannanoa. This is what happened in Swannanoa. And to help us understand this a little better, tell me where Swannanoa is. One or the other of you.
Go ahead.
Swannanoa is east of Asheville, between Black Mountain and Asheville. It's a small little town on the Swannanoa River. It's a pretty decent population. It's all working class. This is where all the lower working class lived. That was the only affordable place in the area to work in Asheville and then live.
Oh, got her.
So there was a huge homeless population there as well. And all these people were purely working class. So when they got hit, they had no insurance. They had no help. Their property values were really low because of their town they were in for taxes. They hadn't got reappraised. It was really, really traumatic because an entire town being wiped out from this flood, and they only had a 15-minute warning.
That's all they had.
Yes, sir.
15 minutes. Well, okay, so why? When rain comes, they tell you a week in advance that rain is coming. We already knew that Hurricane Helene was swarming around. How could it be that they only had 15 minutes of notice?
Well, I've got to explain the severity of this. So the 500-year flood that FEMA produces is the ultimate huge flood, devastating flood. This was 20 feet higher than that for the flood in Swannanoa.
Unprecedented.
It was 20 feet higher than their 500-year predicted flood. So what happened is they were releasing water from the dam. The dam did not fail. The release gate broke off and fell. So they had 15 minutes. And we've had countless witnesses and countless people tell us they got a text message alert. They started gathering their stuff. They looked in their yards. They saw the water. One person had a car in the driveway that was a little bit downhill. That was already underwater, so they got the car that was closest to the road. Two elderly couples that were 69 years old. They made it, put it in their car, started it, made it 20 feet, and had to abandon their car, swim up to the church that was on high ground in the middle of downtown.
No, I understand the 15 minutes. And, I can imagine if that was me and I get an alert saying 15 minutes, I can imagine saying, I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could take 20. So what happened to those folks who didn't?
You didn't make it.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
Didn't make it. So you're going in there in terms of disaster relief with your ministry. You arrive and your first impression is what?
Worst I've ever seen. We've done 9 disasters. This is our 9th disaster. And saw F4 tornadoes. We saw the flooding in Kentucky, in East Kentucky. We saw a lot of horrific things, but this on a scale was so much larger than I've ever experienced. And we've talked to other ministries that had been around for Katrina and other disasters like that, and they expressed that this was bigger and greater than what they've seen in Katrina. That thousands of people were missing and displaced, that you can walk through anywhere and find stuff 5 miles down the road. There was a couple that actually was swiped down from Black Mountain through the Shenandoah River and ended up in Erwin, Tennessee, which is about an hour away. They survived, but it was so devastating that we were doing a trailer park that got flooded, and they lost two of the residences. We muck out, which means we go in, we shovel out all the mud, we strip all the sheetrock, and we strip all the flooring off, so that way they have a skeleton to rebuild, or else it would just be astronomical to build a new one. So we were there, and then we found another home. This was 3 weeks after the disaster. It had still furniture in it, had 14 inches of mud inside, 30 inches of sediment all the way around the house, and it was untouched. We kept finding months up, 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, we were finding properties that were in the middle of town that was still untouched needed help in clean out and recovery.
I don't mean to get political. Not every question involving politics is a political question. But aren't there agencies designed to take care of this stuff? Isn't the state or the federal government or someone supposed to swoop in?
Well, this being our disaster, FEMA and Red Cross has always been the number one staple in a disaster.
Sure.
And they put everything on the SAM registry, which they sub out everything. So everything's subcontract. And when we go to a disaster, we're there for the first 2-3 weeks. We're clean up, recovery, we move on because the government is already set up. They're taken care of. So reason why we're staying here, this is our 4th month going on, is because that lack of Red Cross and FEMA response.
So why the lack? Do you know?
I can tell you from experience that the amount of neglect that was happening to the Carolina people and the amount of confiscations from the government was so extreme that it's unreasonable.
Confiscations?
Yes, sir. So they were flagging. So when you go up to a pod or go up to a distribution site, when a declaration of emergency is stated, they have all rights to seize and confiscate all properties that is considered donations. So they would pull over or flag semi trucks that were loaded fully. They would mark them, have them escorted to a warehouse to unload, and then they leave. And if you had a manifest, you would be more likely to be targeted. And this was verified from the local law enforcement, codes, city officials, and I've witnessed it myself. They put a check on the back of the semi and have it hauled off.
They don't get it. They don't get the stuff. It comes, but then they don't get it. It gets taken somewhere else. I was talking to a gentleman in Elizabethton, Tennessee. I delivered 4, 5, 6 campers because people were donating campers to the people that lost their homes. So I would go wherever they need me to go, pick it up, and then take it to wherever they wanted to. Well, I brought it to this one destination up in Elizabethton, and the guy, what they do is they take the campers, they go through them, make sure everything works for free. This is all done for free, and then it goes out to the place. Well, he told me, he said, there's not too far up the road here. There's 250 FEMA campers still sitting there.
Come on.
I didn't see it my own personal self, but he said it's there and they're not touched. They're just sitting there. Nobody understands why.
Well, there are pretty well documented instances of similar things happening
Yeah.
in other places, and that's a bit of a disaster. You know, recently the President of the United States came out and said, well, maybe we do something different than we're doing with FEMA. And I don't want to get into that too much, but
Right.
maybe there are reasons people are saying that sort of thing. I'll come and ask you this. So the government came under great criticism because residents were offered $700 and nothing else. Is that true?
Some of it. I've heard people specifically say, oh, yeah, that's it. Matter of fact, I've heard also people say that when you get that check in the fine line on the bottom of it, you have to pay it back. Now, I don't know if that's true,
But some people
but I've
said
had
that.
people say that, yes, specifically say that.
Oh, we hope that's not true. So what you're doing is all voluntary and all for free.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
You're going in there, and I'm there with a house half full of mud and a future that now looks black. And you're cleaning out my house, stripping down the sheetrock because it's ruined anyway, and you're saying now you've got a frame to rebuild on and you're good to go or good to get going. This is what you're doing.
Yes, sir. So after we strip all the sheetrock, the flooring, the furniture, the mud, we actually spray it and treat it with the mold remediation spray.
Yes.
That stops it, and that's where the big rush is when we get in there, we clear the debris, we remove it, and so that way the families have a good foundation, because starter new homes cost anywhere from $89,000 to go and up for just the kits alone. So we try to give them a more affordable option. And actually, in Swannanoa, we decided to build one home. It's a little big for our ministry, and it's very, very expensive. But we're blessed to say we've mucked out 48 homes. We tore down 10 structures, including a SDA church, with the help of Jim Ingersoll with Two Serve Ministries.
Yeah.
And with his equipment, Dan Olson's equipment, he's allowed us to use. He's tore down several buildings for us. We took down a single wide, and we actually put a campground with 3 campers with all utility hookups there in Swannanoa for a widow and 2 other families. And in Swannanoa, we are helping a family of 8. They are Sabbath keepers. They are amazing, great couples. They have 5 children, and their mother-in-law lives there. And we are actually rebuilding it. And that's kind of where we love what we do. When we go and strip, we get them the option where a contractor came in and said there will be $350,000 to replicate the home that's tore down and rebuilt. We're going to have a full total of roughly $65,000 to $70,000 for a full, complete, furnished, rebuilt home for them.
Now, the two of you cooperate, but you were separate organizations, Light in the Storm Disaster Relief Ministries, Hope International. So you're doing different things, but you're here together because there's
A need. There's a need. I met Johnny the first time at the Irwin Hills Seventh-day Adventist Church when they were going to be a hub, the Irwin Hills Church out there, to bring supplies in, and Johnny was there the first time and helped us set it all up, and then all of a sudden our relationship bloomed because he's down here needing help, and I'm going, okay, what can we do? How can we help? And that was one of the dreams of mine, was to, what we do, our herbal business is wonderful, and it gives us the opportunity to get to use the money and go out there and help people, but I want to do it more. So we are not only we affiliated with Johnny, but we're also CHC is the name of the company. It's not company, it's an organization, Community Housing Coalition in Madison County.
Okay.
We've been working for them for years. We would go, and it's all free. Everything is free. We go build wheelchair ramps, put it on a roof, do a window, and that's the most rewarding thing that you can do, is to help somebody, no matter what what their needs are. We don't ask, we just say, what do you need? And we do it. So sometimes you feel a little bit overwhelmed, well, a lot overwhelmed, because you're just this one little person. But one guy said to me the other day, he goes, you know what? He says, I know what you're feeling. And he said, but you're just a drop. But you're a drop.
That's right.
And it matters. So every little drop matters, and it will eventually fill up that bucket. So, but the need is so great. There's so many people. Pensacola, where I've been working now, the mudslides, literally where you can see people's houses that are slid off the side of the end. And he said, like you said, 90% of the people do not have insurance. So there's nothing they can do.
Let me take a moment here. We've got a piece of a video almost 2 minutes long from Pensacola, so we're going to roll that now. Describe Pensacola. You said Pensacola. I thought Florida, but
Yeah, that's exactly what everybody.
Carolina.
Pensacola is right outside of the town of Burnsville. It's like 10 minutes outside of Burnsville, and this place was you like I said, you can't describe it. There, it's called Cattail Creek. That as you're going down that nice flat road, beautiful. When you see the before pictures, beautiful grasslands, and they had ponds out there where people could go fishing. And then Cattail Creek went all the way up the side of the mountain. Well, that's where the major stuff came from.
Oh,
and they said, Will, that bus that you're looking at there right now moved at 200-300 yards down the road just by the force of the water. But Will Pagan, this guy that you're watching that film right now, he was in his camper or trailer when that was happening. And he said when he witnessed it, it was 20 feet wide, or minimum of 20 to 30 feet wide, and 15 to 20, 30 feet high of a wall of water that's coming down. There's nothing he could do. It came that fast. He couldn't get out.
you're doing this for free.
Yes.
So you have equipment because
Yep.
you just do this. Maybe
Right.
it's your business
Right.
or whatever in the past.
Yeah.
How much of your own time have you given over here in the Carolinas since this began?
Well, we went out that Sunday when it happened. We went out, and my grandson actually went with me. We've been almost every day. Now, we have to stop sometimes because I had machines break down. So you got to stop, and you got to take them to the shop, or you got to fix them, and all this stuff costs money. So, but yeah, I don't want to charge. But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we need volunteers. We need people. We need bodies, boots on the ground, and we need funds to be able to help these people.
Who can help?
Anybody.
Who shouldn't help? Is there a shouldn't?
I don't think so.
No.
So
So God has given everybody a special talent, and either it could be someone that wants to pick up sticks or pick up trash or debris to help spruce up the area and raise morale. And
That's an interesting point.
Yes.
Because a big deal in this is morale.
yes,
The reason I asked who shouldn't help is because I asked the question who could help. And 6 out of 10 people checked out. They go, well, I'm too old. I didn't have enough money. I didn't have a skill. I'm not a builder. I don't own an excavator. Those are just excuses, right?
That's right.
So we've had a little over 680 volunteers in the time span served with our ministry. Volunteers from
680?
680, yes, sir.
Fantastic.
And all over the nation. And we've had 79-year-old ladies that would run circles around me. We've had elderly folks that say, hey, I don't want to do a lot of heavy lifting. So they would go and feed the volunteers.
Right.
Or they would go and just pray with the victims
Yes.
and minister to them, give them a glow track. We carry a lot of glow tracks on our trailers.
We say the same about It Is Written mission trips. You don't have to be a doctor or a nurse or whatever. Sometimes the most important people are the people who act as glue to hold it all together. They're the in-between people. Nothing happens without the in-between people.
That's right.
So if you can go there and be an in-between person.
Just the willingness to do it, the willingness to serve is all what we're looking for.
Johnny, what did you see that shocked you? What shocked you? You can take this from any angle. You went there and you said, oh my, that's surprising.
Well, this might seem a little weird, but what was the most shocking, besides the pure devastation and just all the eye can see of it, was the amount of Adventists that served with us in our ministry. Normally, it's about 1 or 2% of our volunteer pool is Adventist. We actually had 85 or 90% were Adventists from Carolina Conference, from all over the nation. We had a couple that canceled their Mount Rushmore trip from Ohio. They said, hey, I want to come. And I've got to tell you, it's not by chance where our government did not step up the way they should. The Lord protected that place because every single volunteer said, the Holy Spirit told me to come and serve in this area.
Wow.
And we've had agnostics, we've had atheists, we've had all them, and all them that say the same thing. A power came over me and pulled me to go to this area and serve.
So I just want to reiterate here, what you're saying is that since the initial wave of enthusiasm and help and support, it's died off.
Oh, yeah.
And there's still a great and a pressing
Oh, yeah.
need. Really?
Massive. I don't think it's any different. It's not changed. Because, for instance, the situation that he's in with Joaquin's house, that was one of the things, too, when you asked him about what shocked you, is the resilience of the people.
Tell me about it.
oh man, these people will do anything. Everybody's wondering, okay, where's FEMA? Where's all the people? How come they're not coming? Oh no, they're not coming. Forget this. We're going to do it. So the people step up. I'm networking with dozens of people all around the area that we're getting. I'm on the phone all day long. My daughter can attest it. Dad, you're getting so many text messages and messages on Facebook. And I said, well, there's people that need help. So they will call me or I'll put hey, somebody needs propane, or I got a call. Well, I get calls all the time. Hey, we're out of propane. Can you bring it? Yeah. 8 o'clock on Saturday night, and jump in my truck, go get the propane and bring it to them, because nobody else is going to do it. Yeah. So if I don't do it, I can't expect somebody else to do it. So, but the people around the different organizations, Samaritan's Purse and the Baptist organizations, and just so many that it said, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. So the locals step up and say, okay, we're going to help. And there's hundreds of them.
So we heard about people, okay, they lost homes, they lost everything, and some of us have seen video. And in fact, before I ask you this question, I want to take a look at another piece of video from Marshall Hot Springs. And why don't you walk me through this and describe what you've seen in Marshall Hot Springs?
Okay.
Or thereabouts.
Marshall is, that's where I'm from. I'm not from that town, but my daughter and I, the day it was happening, we were standing on our bridge. And I don't know if there's a video in that or not, but this is the town of Marshall right here. Actually, it is. We were standing on the bridge. And the bridge that we were standing on, typically the water's between 25 and 30 feet lower. Right. It was over the top.
Yeah, unbelievably.
Of the bridge. And there was debris, what do you call them, Connexes off the big semi things. They're coming down, smashing into the bridge. We were standing on that bridge when that was happening. And then after, that's in Marshall right now. That's the town of Marshall, the bridge that goes across the river. That's the bridge that we were standing on right there. Anyway, you go into the town of Marshall, there's pictures of that too. You couldn't get all the way into the town, but it's basically all underwater, completely underwater. But they're rebuilding it. Yeah, people are in there, they're putting it back together, but not without help. We need help. The government's not doing it. We need the help of the people out there.
So tell me what people had to actually endure. What do they have to live through? They lost their stuff. But we heard in the coldest part of winter, people were still living in tents.
Oh yeah, still are.
There are still people living in tents.
Still people live in tents. Yep.
And if they're not in a tent, what might they have? If they're out of their own home, what might they be in?
Camper, campers.
Okay, a camper.
Yep. The Amish came in and built a whole bunch of little tiny sheds, tiny sheds.
That's very temporary, right?
So, yeah. Oh yeah. There's no sewer, no water, no nothing.
Oh.
So. I talked with a gal yesterday, a day before yesterday. I was out. We were going to go over there and fix her driveway. She's a single mom. Her husband passed away a year before the flood had happened. She's got 9 kids, and she lost her house. This wasn't from water. This is from the winds and whatnot that destroyed her entire house. She was living in a tent with 9 kids for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if I should say this or not, but one of the reasons she said I didn't want to say anything, because she had heard through the grapevine that DSS would come in and taking people's kids.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a livable place for your child, we're going to take them. So she said, I can't say anything. Well, now she's got 2 campers now that we brought to her, so she's comfortable, but she has no power, no sewer, and no water.
And she got 9 kids.
She got 9 kids. Oh, well, some of them are she got a lung problem. She's got lung problems. That one little girl has.
So tell me now, I don't want to make you the hero, even though what you're doing is undeniably heroic, but it's service, it's ministry. Without you, where would she be living right now?
I don't know.
Just that simple.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
So this is the difference that you're making.
Yeah.
Okay, now I don't want to wait all the way to the end, even though we'll ask you this again. If people want to show up and help, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can reach out. They can visit our website at lightinthestorm.org. We have our address, our phone number, and my phone is always on for anybody willing to help.
Lightinthestorm.org. Yep. Dan, are you needing people to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Our ministry is Hope International / Hope for Health. USA.com would be the website you could reach out to. There's a...
Hang on, make that clear. Is that a long address?
Yep, it's hopeforhealthusa.com.
Hopeforhealthusa.com.
Correct.
No slashes, no dots, no there. Just
That's
hopeforhealthusa.com.
Yep, that's all one word. And then we got QR codes. I think my daughter that produce or whatever they made up. So if you want to donate, give us a call. Call us at I'll give you the office number, which is 828-649-1984. My cell, I'll answer anytime, day or night too. My cell number is 309-335-3936. anything.
Yep.
Whatever it is, $1 makes a difference.
Okay.
Everything makes a difference.
You need boots on the ground.
we
People
need boots on the ground, absolutely.
and money to provide.
Keep going.
Yeah, to keep going. Wow, phenomenal.
One real, do I have quick time for one more little story?
Yeah, you do.
Carla, or not Carla, her name was Kayla. She was from Clyde, North Carolina. And we brought her a camper to, she and her group, her family lived on this little trailer park area that was kind of close to the river. And there was 3 campers, or not campers, but trailer houses. Every one of them were destroyed. But the story that I'm going to tell was the worst. There was 2 elderly ladies that were living in a house. They just finished fixing their house because they're elderly. They made it all handicap available so they could get in and out real easy. And they're sisters that were living in this house. And Kayla, I think it's Kayla. Anyway, she was telling them, okay, come on, gals, you got to get out. You got to get out. It's going to get worse. And he said, no, here's one of them examples. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're watching this, and their house picked up and it started floating down the river with them in
Them
it.
inside it.
They were in it. And then it smashed into something and completely obliterated it. But they jumped on mattresses and they lived 5 miles down the road. These 2 sisters lived. So, and they got nothing. They don't have insurance. They don't have no way to fix their stuff, no way to put it back.
An unbelievable story.
It is. It is. There's
That's
so many
a common
stories.
story of people being swept away in their home.
Oh, yeah.
6 weeks in to the disaster, there was a trash crew started tearing a house that was on a river going. They found a family of 4 in there.
Wow.
That were no longer with us.
So we think the $85 billion figure that they've said this thing costs is just a number. Might be, might not be.
I think it is.
More.
There's a gentleman real quick in Pensacola that I'm working with too. He said he's a retired, what do you call a vet that's been hurt? Disabled vet. Anyway,
Yeah.
elderly guy. He sold everything in Colorado, came here, brought his camper. He said, I'm going to live here. He said, it'll be 15 years before we put this back together.
Wow, he said that.
Years and years and years, yeah.
And the official death toll is what?
They say not even 200.
Not even 200.
But
Quite 200.
But there's no one in that area who believes that's accurate.
they're talking
The
thousands.
scale of the disaster.
Next to the morgues, there were refrigerator trailers full of unidentified. And the thing is the reason why they can't say this many people died is because they have to, number 1, identify, and number 2, notify next of kin.
Mm-hmm.
And if those people never get identified or notified, they will never become on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, what a tragedy. We've got another piece of video I want to look at. I think this is from Green Mountain. Is that right?
Yeah.
Walk us through. This is going to appear in a second.
Green Mountain, this is a couple that we go to church with. This was their place. This is where my grandson and I went originally to help them, where they're 6 and 8 foot size culverts, steel culverts that got washed down.
Oh.
And they no way in, no way out. This one was really, really bad too. No life gone, thankfully.
Yep.
Not in this area. That I
Massive
know.
destruction, right?
And then right down the road from there, while we were there, a gentleman and his family lost everything. But their grandfather had a house that was living up the literally up the hill a little bit from the river, so the river didn't get it. So we're going down the road. We're talking to a gentleman down there. We're getting ready to help him do whatever it is that we're doing, and he's running down his driveway. This old feller on his lawnmower. My house is on fire. My house is on fire, and we're going. There's no communication. You can't get a hold of anybody. So we called and called and called, and they all tried to get somebody out there, burst right to the ground. Nothing they could do about it. And then 35 minutes later, then they show up, finally, because they finally somehow get the SOS out there. Because there was no communication. You couldn't call. Cell phones were down. Everything was down.
Not just that, the emergency services was stretched so thin that it would be impossible for them to even respond, not let alone get there.
Sure. Well, and the roads were gone.
Yes.
In that one video right there, they couldn't get there because the road was literally wiped out. So it was very difficult. They had to go around. Yeah, that was
I-40, they said, is going to be up from start to finish maybe a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
You're
true.
still going around that mess,
Yes,
right?
I still go from Nashville to there. It takes us about 6.5 hours to 7 hours to get there from Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, this is just unprecedented, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this. So, a couple of things strike me. The resilience of the people and the way others have stood up to help, given of themselves, shown up. But what kind of toll does it take on you? You're living this. You've been there for 4 months now, 4 months plus. both of you, and you're hearing those harrowing stories. The story you told us before is unbelievable. Doesn't this start to wear on you just a little bit after a while?
For me, it's I've been very blessed that the Lord has gave me the ability to handle trauma in very destructive and bad areas. And plus, I have my family support that I can talk to, my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And I get to go visit them. I'll go home for about a week and rewind and unwind. But honestly, I just give it all to the Lord. The first few disasters I've done were overwhelming. I felt like anything I do was not enough for disasters. But I've learned that the Lord is just giving me, He would never give me more than I can handle. And I just take it day by day. And when I'm finished, I could write down a list and I say, wow, I've really made a difference thanks to the Lord. And being a tool of the Lord, you don't really think about how much more you could do. You just think about what the Lord wants you to do the next day.
Yeah.
Amen.
What's ministry?
Isn't it? That's ministry.
Yep.
You, Dan? How about you?
I gotta go. I can't not go. These people need help. They're my neighbors. They live right down the road from me. I can't not go. I gotta help. Even if it's a phone call at 9:00 at night, said, Mr. Dan, I don't have any heat. I'm on my way. I'll do whatever I gotta do to help them. So, but that's the thing. We need help too. We can't keep going without people, the boots on the ground and the monetary stuff. I mean, you hate to say that, but that's reality. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You have to have that.
So let me
in order
ask
to
you,
keep moving
from your
forward.
perspective, you just spoke about the fellow, the retired veteran, God bless him, who said this is going to take 15 years. When does this end for you? Johnny, when does this end for Light in the Storm Disaster Relief Ministries? When can you say, okay, we're out of here?
Well, we put a line in the sand because we've got to ramp up for tornado season. We've got our final project, which is the Arellana family house. And we are raising money and rallying up to finish that home. And once they're in it, that's when we say we're done.
Okay. So there is a finish date. There's a finish date for you, a finish line for you.
Yes.
How about you, Dan?
Well, since we live here, I live in this area, so I can, as long as the Lord allows, and as long as the Lord keeps blessing, which He is amazingly blessing our equipment and our machines and the funds that are coming in for the sale of our herbal products and whatnot. That makes a huge difference for us to be able to do that. I won't stop.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the Bible about retiring, so.
Now,
doing it.
you've mentioned your herbal products a couple of times, and someone is going to say, well, I want to know more about that. So where do people go to find out?
HopeForHealthUSA.com.
Okay, same place.
Yep. HopeForHealthUSA.com. That's right. My wife's a naturopath. My daughter's going to be one. We've got incredible products, and we've been doing this for 20 years, so we know the stuff works.
Yeah.
We have free health consultation. You can call in and talk about whatever you need to talk about, and they'll give you a
And it's on the back of that you are truly a self-supporting ministry.
Yes, we are.
Using the means God has given you to help those in need, and the need is desperate and great.
Amen.
Gentlemen, thank you. Johnny Rodman, Light in the Storm Disaster Relief Ministries. How do people find you, reach out to you, volunteer, come help? Give us that information again.
Okay. You can find us at lightinthestorm.org. You can call our cell phone number, 615-420-8148. We also have TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and all the major social media platforms. And I will answer any questions, and I would love to really get some more support. This last 2 weeks, we've had no volunteers, so it's only been me going there.
So you really need people.
Yes, and finances.
Yeah.
I'm volunteers, and actually everybody in our ministries volunteers. That's the people that do our YouTube videos. That's from the people that do our public relations. So we could really, really use the support to get this Arellana family back in get their home.
Yeah. And again, Dan, people want to reach out to you and say, I want to get there and help, or I want to send something to support. How do they do that?
Call me at the office at 828-649-1984, or my cell number at 309-335-3936.
Yeah.
Or they can get on the website, hopeforhealthusa.org.
HopeForHealthUSA.org.
Yes.
They'll figure the dot out. If it doesn't work one way, they'll figure it out another way.
Right.
Hope for Health USA.
Or call me. Just call me, and I'll give you all the information that you need.
You got
or Johnny.
an enormous work So we've sort of come to the end of our time, but I just want to say, is there something that I haven't asked? Is there something that you want to communicate? Is there something, I haven't shared this, but I really want to?
Yes, I would like to share. I've got to say, I am so proud of the local area and the conference and Irwin Hills SDA Pastor Art. When we came there, that's what we do as part of our ministry is we set up a pod, which is a point of distribution.
Yes.
And we set something up that was a hybrid that I came up with that was inspired by another food bank, and it was called a Rapid Pod. Well, Pastor Art and his, they only had 12 active members at that church. Well, they said, hey, we want to be a pod. We want to help and serve the community. I think they served over 10,000 people.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the resilience of Swannanoan people, they are the nicest people I've ever met. So just real quick, we were in the trailer park and we're going through, and there's about 80 trailers there and 20 or 30 got flooded. They're sleeping in their car and they come out and we're sitting there, we're gutting out their house, and they'll set up a tent and plug up the only generator they've got with a mini fridge that was given to them and have waters for us and just continue to cater us. We've had several victims come hand in hand in the mud and serve and clean with us. That's been the most beautiful thing we've experienced, is how deserving these people are.
In the midst of a tragedy, God has seen, His Spirit is work, and God is using you both and your organizations. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Dan Olson from Hope International and Johnny Rodman for Light in the Storm Disaster Relief Ministries. Blessing to have you both. Thank you so much.